and welcome to the Career Corner, where we answer your career cues. I'm your host, Lukas Kauffman, and joining us today in the virtual Zoom studio is Mish Lenhart. Mish, welcome to the Career Corner.
Thank you, Lucas. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. So, Mish, starting things off, tell us about yourself. Where'd you go to school? Where'd you get your degree in? And what do you do now? And what are you here to talk about today?
Yeah. Well, I have been in working in higher ed for almost all of my life, actually. Because when I was even in elementary school and high school, I lived in a college town. I lived in Hamilton, New York, where Colgate University is, and I was on the town gown committee. And I had no idea that that was going to be my trajectory for the rest of my life. I just thought it was a fun thing to be on. But I went to college, my undergrad at SUNY Geneseo, and studied human geography as an undergraduate. And then I actually went there for a graduate degree as well. So I got my education administration degree there. I have bounced around, and we can talk about where I went if you want to, but then I actually got another graduate degree later on in life in creative studies at the College at Buffalo, which was nice. And then I went on to been working here since 2008. I'm the director in the Office of Student Engagement, and so we do all things student organization, leadership programs, do some community service, lots of really fun things that I feel like are the ways that students can get their money's worth at Ithaca College.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah,
And what led you to this position? What gave
yeah.
you a passion for leadership development and student engagement?
Yeah. Well, so when I was an undergraduate, I actually was an RA. That was one of my involvement pieces there. And when I graduated from college, I loved that part of my college experience so much. And so the person who was my supervisor in Res Life said, "Why don't you apply to be an RD? Because then you can kind of continue to do this for a little bit longer. You get to stay in your college town for a little bit longer," which I think sometimes as you're about to graduate, you get nostalgic and think, I want to do that. And so I decided to do that. It was a great deal because when I worked at the college, I could get a graduate degree paid for by the college, which was great. So I didn't have that student debt for my graduate degree. And then I just kind of started to see, oh, this could be a job for the rest of my life. And the parts of the job that I was most excited about were the leadership development pieces. I moved out to the West Coast for a while and worked at Cal State San Marcos and UC Irvine. Did a little bit more of developing leaders there. Moved back to the East Coast. I'd say probably the job that gave me the best training for how to be a leadership educator was when I worked at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And I had to teach engineers and people who were going to go into the management field how to be leaders, and it was not their favorite thing. And so I had to get really good at how do I make this intriguing for them. Brought in a lot of alumni, was able to do really interactive leadership development. And so I was able to kind of hone what I was doing there. I've worked at other institutions since then. And when I really kind of knew that I wanted to move back to upstate New York because this is home for me. I really only looked at Ithaca. This job was open. I applied. I got it. I didn't even apply for anything else. I didn't even know if this would work out, but was really excited to get it and have really been able to create a dynamic leadership program here that has so many components and is a really positive experience, I think, for students who are involved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
incredible. So as a professional in the field of student engagement
yeah.
and having held your position for so long, can you tell us what does your day-to-day look like? What are you
Yeah.
doing every day at Ithaca College?
Yeah. No 2 days look alike. But I think there's a general pattern and a flow. One of the things I love about higher ed is that you do get to reset every year, every semester. I work with a number of different programs. So every day, I have kind of a focus on whatever group I'm working with. I work with our student leadership consultants, who are the folks I'm their supervisor, and They are the students who really help run the Office of Student Engagement. It's a paraprofessional position. They are meeting with student organizations to help them to get recognized or put on programs or travel or whatever they need to do, recruit new members, things like that. And so kind of helping to provide guidance to them on how to do those things. I oversee the Leadership Scholar program, and so I would say, every week I'm doing at least one thing with that group, and whether it's programming for them or and creating, retreats and experiences for them, helping all of those scholars to meet their requirements. They have to be leaders on campus. They have to do community service. They have to be getting leadership education. So I present in the Student Leadership Institute, for example, this afternoon. I'm doing every week, every Wednesday at 4, I do a presentation on a different leadership topic for that. I definitely am helping students in the BOLD program, which is a women's leadership network that we have here at the college, and doing programming with them. Almost every weekend, I'm actually working almost every Saturday on different either retreats that we're doing, or doing our service Saturdays where we go into the community and are able to serve. And we work with a variety of different community partners in order to do that. So lots of things. So it doesn't ever look the same from day to day. There are definitely patterns. And during the summer, really working on the Jumpstart program, which is the program, it's like a pre-orientation program for students who want to move in a couple of days before orientation. So,
Amazing. A
yeah.
lot of these things you're mentioning sound really familiar. My roommate is in the leadership scholar program, so I've heard a
Oh,
lot about
cool.
these things, through the grapevine. So it's
Nice.
cool to hear it from you as well.
Yeah.
And speaking of these, the leadership scholar program
Yeah.
specifically, I want to talk about some of these programs you mentioned,
Yeah.
that program and the Bold Women's
Yep.
Leadership Network. So starting
Yeah.
things off, tell us about the leadership scholar program and what does it do to nurture leadership in
Yeah.
students?
I love the Leadership Scholar program. So every year we bring in a new class of, I would say, around 50 scholars. It could range from as low as 40 to as high as 65. But it just kind of depends who chooses to come to Ithaca College and from who we admit. And it's pretty competitive to get into the program, the scholarship itself. And it's a 4-year program. And so students are able to kind of choose how they want to meet the not kind of, totally choose how they want to meet the requirements, because they do have to be involved in something on campus. So students could be involved on an athletic team or have a job on campus where they're doing leadership, like being a peer career advisor. They could be involved in a student organization. So there's all different kinds of ways that students could choose to do that involvement piece. They do leadership education, so they go to 3 leadership workshops every semester. They get to choose. There's like 100 leadership workshops that we offer every semester, so there's plenty of variety for them to choose from depending on where they're at in their kind of growth as a student leader throughout their 4 years here. And then they do some sort of service project every semester, and that is totally dependent on what their interests are. The idea is that they will want to continue doing service after they graduate, and they don't have to check off a box to meet a requirement, but they just want to be able to give back to their community and be leaders in that way too. And really, I think a lot of the people who are in the scholarship program would probably do a lot of those things anyway. But what this does is we ask them to put everything that they do, they have to collect artifacts for everything that they do and put those in an electronic portfolio. And then at the end of every semester, they do like an elevator pitch about themselves in front of 4 or 5 of their peers and a staff member who listens and is able to give them feedback or ask questions. They can make connections with other people who've maybe wanted to do the same thing that they've done, or who, that want to steal an idea from their portfolio because they've presented it in such a cool way. And so it really gives them a chance to practice talking about all of the skills that they've learned from these cool things that they're doing throughout their time. And they do the same thing every semester, but they grow as leaders and they get more involved. They get, they're deeper into their involvement. They might do the same service project, but like now they know the community partners really well. And so they're able to give a little bit more because they aren't just in the learning phase. And their very last semester, every leadership scholar does a senior capstone presentation where they get a chance to talk about what how they've changed, how they've grown as a student leader, and what the legacy they're leaving is. Those are really cool. And in fact, they are just a really great way for them to reflect on what they've gained from the experience as a leadership scholar and how they're going to kind of take whatever they've learned into their future careers as well.
Yeah, incredible. So
Yeah,
many great opportunities there in
yeah,
that program.
yeah.
You also mentioned before the Bold Women's
Yep.
Leadership Network. So tell me about that.
Yeah, yeah, another awesome program. That is a program for students who are in their junior and senior year. So they apply during the spring of their sophomore year. And then they are in the program for their junior and senior years. And it's really a program that is helping people who want to be leaders in their fields. There is a scholarship attached to it as well, but a lot of the benefit really comes from the program, which there's a leadership development. Every week we do some sort of either a professional development program that could be the scholars themselves just meeting. We have a faculty fellow in the business school, Christine Bataille, who teaches some of those. We do a lot. We've done several things with the Center for Career Exploration and Development, where they've done some really great workshops for the scholars to help them build their career materials like resumes and cover letters, to help them learn how to get a summer internship, things like that. And then we also, I think one of the coolest parts of it is that these women are building, and they can kind of have some say in this, but they are able to build their own professional network. We call it a board of directors. And so they have an alumna who is a mentor to them, and it's usually someone who's in a career field that they want to go into. And they each have a sponsor on campus who's someone who's in a leadership role. Sorry, I should have turned that off. Someone who's in a leadership role, and they are actually able to provide opportunities for scholars to either be on committees or just give them someone that they can talk to about how might they reach out to other people in the field, preparing those, getting advice about how did that person get into their job, things like that. Yeah. So that's a
Incredible.
really cool part of it. And then part of their network is just the other scholars who are in the program as well.
Yeah, awesome. Networking is always such an incredible thing to make use of, and especially the Ithaca College alumni network
Oh my
is
gosh.
so expansive. So being able to have a like this alumni as your mentor is like
Yes.
great opportunity.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And the alumna is who the folks who we have reached out to say, will you be a mentor to this scholar? I can't even tell you, like there is almost no time that passes before they respond back and they're like, yes, let me do that. They get really excited and they want to meet with the folks. And most of those meetings are via Zoom or, contact electronically in some way. It's harder to do it in person when someone lives in another state. But those are just really cool relationships that the scholars are able to build. Yeah.
Incredible, yeah. And
Yeah.
I know you also organize a lot of excursions like the I'm looking at some of them here, the Knowledge to Action Leadership Retreat and the Women's Leadership Retreat.
Yeah.
So what are those, and what transformation do you see students kind of go throughout the course of a retreat?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, we are really lucky living where Ithaca College is located because there's all kinds of cool things that have happened in New York State, historically. And so the Knowledge to Action Retreat, which is the retreat that we have in the fall, we actually take students up to Auburn, where the Harriet Tubman home is. It's less than an hour from here. And students can visit the Harriet Tubman home, learn a little bit of history about her, and uh, kind of where her roots in Auburn, and also about her history with the Underground Railroad and just her as an activist. There's a lot of other activism that has taken place in Auburn as well. And there's, in fact, a whole trail that folks can walk. It's called the Harriet Tubman Lantern Trail. It's not all just about her, it's about all different kinds of activism. And so we visit some of the sites. And kind of the morning for both of the retreats I'm going to talk about, the morning is like the historical piece. Then the afternoon, we'll bring in some speakers for a panel. They might be alumni, they might be leaders in a certain field. Just kind of depends what our theme is that year. And then the students get to hear from those people about kind of what it's like in the present to be an activist or a leader. And then the last part of the day is a workshop where we help students to practice their own activism and take things back to campus and back to their own lives. So it's like past, present, future. And that's the model for both the Knowledge to Action retreat in the fall. And then in the spring, we go to Seneca Falls, which is where the first Women's Rights Convention was held in the United States. And so we do the same kind of thing. Explore that, listen to the park rangers do an awesome job of telling the story of what happened there. And then we have lunch and a panel and some sort of an activity so that students can take what they've learned and figure out how are they going to put this into practice as leaders when they come back to campus. So they're really great. They are open to all students. Both of those retreats happen every year. I think it's one of the ways that you really can get your money's worth at Ithaca College because you've already paid for it, so you might as well sign up and go. Yeah,
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 absolutely. And another kind of a more off-campus opportunity. I know you do a lot of community
yeah,
service
yeah,
events.
yeah.
So as somebody who coordinates those, how do you make sure that they're meaningful for students and the community?
Great question. I love that because I think we do not want this to be something that's actually more of a burden on the community when we go into it. And I think sometimes some volunteer projects can do that. So we have the Service Saturday program happens every month during the academic year. And I work with a team of student leadership consultants, and each of the student leadership consultants reaches out to community partner sites. We have kind of a library of folks that we've worked with in the past who we know are really good at creating a good experience for students and really need the help. Um, and so each student leadership consultant, there's four of them on the team, and they will each reach out to a site to say, hey, we'd like to do a service project on this day. They'll talk about what our program is. And so we have a variety of cool things that we've done. There are so many favorites, but I will say one of the most favorite projects this year was the Brookendale Community Center does what they call their annual Pie Bee, which means they sell 400 apple pies. So somebody has to make those apple pies. So our students went and made over 100 of them, which was really cool in one day, which was really cool. And so, but we want to make sure that before students go, we do a little bit of education about what the site is, who the people are that we're going to be serving, what they will be doing so that they can prepare for it and either be dressed appropriately if it's outside or know that one of our sites, we go to Kendall, which is a retirement home, and students do what's called device advice, and they help seniors to learn how to use their phones or iPads or laptops. And most of the questions are things that for college students you do all the time, but someone who isn't a digital native is just learning about it for the first time. And so we really help students to understand, like, you're going to be here, you're going to have more of a conversation with this person and help them to, feel more confident and happy about using their technology. It's not so much about just do this and then fix it, right? That there's a little bit more to it. So we really do a good job, I think, of setting people up to do the service. And then after we do the service, we do a reflection with each of the students about what they did, why it was important, and maybe what they're going to do next now that they've done this. Are they going to come back to this site? Are they going to remember to be more patient with their parents when their parents have technology problems? Are they going to, make sure that after they graduate, they give back to a site that is similar because that's a topic that's important to them. And so there are definitely a wide variety of things. And I think that that pre-flexion and post-reflection are really key parts to answering that question about how do you make sure it's helping the students and the community. You can't just go and do the service and be done. We really have, it's a whole kind of scope of the program.
Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing. And we're closing towards the end of our time, if you can even believe it. It
I
always
know.
feels so short. If you're ever looking to kill some time, record an interview because it's always it's always crazy. I do like 8 minute ones and they feel like literally like 3 minutes.
I'm sure.
So before we end our time here, I want to pivot a little bit so you can share some direct advice for students.
Okay.
So I would love to ask you, what leadership qualities do you think are most essential for college students today in the modern
Wow.
landscape of the world?
Wow, that's a great question. I will say, the leadership skills that, so again, I've been doing this for 34 years, right? Working in higher ed as a professional staff member. And I don't think that the skills have changed very much. It's just maybe the way that you're able to do the things. I think that one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever gotten was to try to be interested rather than interesting. And I think that that's really good advice for students when you're thinking about that networking piece that we were just talking about, is that you don't have to go in and think, I need to really impress people and show off a bunch of things. But asking questions and then listening is such an important part of that. I would say that also some of this is self-care, and I think we've changed the way we've talked about self-care over the decades, but really, when we do our leadership series, we have 4 different tracks for that, and the first one is leading self. And a lot of it is stuff like good sleep habits and making sure that you're being compassionate toward yourself. And sometimes those things don't feel like they're leadership qualities, but if you don't have a leader that's taking care of themselves, then they're not able to be the best for other people. So I just think that that's such an important piece for students to remember too as they go into their future careers. Don't forget to do that piece, and you don't want to burn yourself out too early.
Absolutely. And what
Yeah.
would you say to a student who maybe doesn't see themselves as a natural leader, but still wants to develop these skills?
I think everyone is a leader. We all are just different. And so I think there's kind of that stereotypical outgoing person that you think of when you think that person's a natural leader. Sometimes they're not the best because they're not listening, right? And so I do think that it's important for people to know who they are and what their strengths are. There's certainly some really good instruments that people can take. You can even go to your center and make sure that you learn about the strong inventory, make sure you learn about strengths quest, make sure that you learn about the Myers-Briggs, things like that. And I think it really helps people. And you can do that in SLI sessions as well. And in fact, I think Student Leadership Institute, that's what SLI stands for. I think that by learning about those things and realizing those are your superpowers, that's how you become a leader. And we really need a unique set of leadership skills, and we need a variety of leadership skills in order to make any workplace, the world, everything to really run as effectively as possible. So I really encourage people to find out what their superpowers are and then work on that rather than thinking, oh, I'm not, boisterous enough and I need to go work on that. That may not be who you are, and you shouldn't try to be inauthentic. You should definitely just embrace what your real strengths are.
Incredible. And as we close on our time here, last couple of minutes, I just want to open the floor to you if you have any final pieces of advice or anything that that you're looking at in the future of student engagement at IC that you're excited about, or just anything you'd like to share before we end our time in the career corner.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my gosh, I love student engagement so much. And I think we know we've done a lot of research and we know that it's good for students to be involved in things. I think sometimes people worry they're going to get involved and it's going to take away from their academics. And we've actually found that students who are involved in one, two, or three clubs have a better GPA. They tend to stay at the college longer. They tend to be the people who are more successful on campus. And so I think taking advantage of those things is super important. And Ithaca College is so cool. I often make the analogy that it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet where you've already paid this big price and you should just go in and just try as many different things as possible because you already have made the investment in it. And if you don't like something, don't do it. Stop, But it doesn't hurt to try those things. Today, we are actually having our co-curricular symposium, which is a chance for students to do oral presentations and poster presentations about what they've learned from their co-curricular experiences. So their involvement in clubs and leadership and service and some of those programs that I talked about, like the Bold Scholar program. And so they are going to be talking all about the awesome things that they've gotten from these experiences. So I think that's another great event that people can go to every year if they want to learn a little bit more about what the opportunities are and why it would be important to get involved. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Mish, unless there's anything else you want to share with us, that's we did it. That's
We
Career
did
Corner.
it. I know. No, that was great. Definitely a lot of fun and
Uh,
definitely fun to talk about things that I'm so passionate about. So, if folks want to come up to the Student Activity Center or Office of Student Engagement and learn from some of their peers and get a chance to get more involved, please do.
Absolutely. And folks at home, you don't have to wait for our next episode to get career guidance. You can visit Drop In Hours in Muller Faculty Center 101, Monday to Friday, 11 to 2. I'm Lucas Kauffman, and this has been Career Corner.